All right, let's do it live on a Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z. Look at you. Team issue polo. You're ready to go, dude, on a Monday. You're ready to go.
Let's go.
It's all fired up.
Let's go. Rookie minicamp in the books. It was a real delight as I'm digesting the final stanza from Sunday right now. Just a real treat. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Thank you. By the way, the lighting looks good. Looks a little like I would call it a cool.
I would say a cool blue.
I think blue.
We're working through that.
No, I like it, dude. I like it.
So everything
my hair
back
looks,
in.
Yeah,
It's almost
outside, and
platinum.
we're a
you
little-
can tell. Like,
You look, what was it? One of the Steiners?
one of the
Didn't one of them
big
have
Papa
it like
Pump, dude.
had it all
Big Papa Pump.
slicked in? I remember him as
Holler
the Steiner.
if you
good.
hear me. Yeah, then he was Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner. He's also great at math, one of the foremost mathematicians in the history of the world. Steiner math, look it up if you haven't.
In the history of the world?
Look up Steiner math in the next.
That's just such a bold claim, like mathematicians like Will Hunting, Scott Steiner.
Steiner smokes Will Hunting.
Really?
He would snatch that apple,
Just
break
like
him
that.
in half, and then
That's
perform some
incredible.
calculus.
I did not know that. That's not a bit. He really is.
We'll watch in the commercial the Steiner math promo. Just watch Steiner math promo. That's all you have to Google.
Okay, all right.
He'll be there with little Petey Pump.
And all the folks.
By the way, before we start, I would be remiss if we did not take a moment to acknowledge the passing of the suicidal, homicidal, genocidal maniac Sabu. R.I.P. We lost an absolute legend in the sport of professional wrestling over the weekend. 6 years old. Very sad. He was like
I didn't know.
innovator.
I didn't know if that.
That was real.
That's oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
he
right.
passed away.
Oh, well,
Sabu.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, very unexpectedly. Wrestled his last match actually at WrestleMania weekend, not on WrestleMania, obviously. But he was like, when you think of original ECW, like Sabu and Taz and RVD and the Sandman, Raven, like.
He was in that group.
Yes, an original. Changed. He was the first, not first, but he was probably the most known, like, violent high flyer ever.
And just shocking, just out of nowhere, huh?
Yeah, very sad. I mean, he's lived a significant life full of, put his body through quite a bit.
Those seem like, unfortunately, that's about the life expectancy for a lot of those cats. Is
It's getting better now, much
Hopefully
better now.
it gets
but
better,
yes,
but
yes.
For the
But
longest
anyway,
time, that's
Sabu.
the way that it kind of was. Yeah, so there you go.
There you go. Mother's Day.
Yeah, it was nice. Very nice. As it turns out, when the weather is nice,
This place is great.
what a time to be alive.
What a great town.
I said to NBC, I go, God, do you think that when we have it, we were like reflecting on the weekend gone by where we accomplished a great many things, and we were sitting out by the fire pit, and I said, I was burning some trees that I had cut down, and he goes, I go, do you think that because of how bad it's been for like the last 2 months that it makes us appreciate these days more? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, but it could just be like this every
All the
day.
time. Yeah.
I said, well, also true.
seems
Also
like
true.
that would be-
There are parts of the world where it is 71 degrees every day.
That would be great,
Would
yeah.
be nice. Yeah, with very
Yes.
low humidity. So it was gorgeous.
What was
Incredible weekend.
what was the Mother's Day run? We had a very busy weekend as well.
I saw
Very
you had the big shower.
big shower.
You were in bespoke in baby blue, which is a beautiful
I was
and
in
appropriate.
I was in the Man
I
City.
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect baby blue.
Yeah, you look
There
great.
he is, G-Man.
Look at him.
Gabe.
Gabriel. Young
Gabriel.
Young Gabriel. And always enters situations in a
Big way. Big
Always
way.
does. Yeah. No, so yeah, it was great. So we did I had a bunch of cleaning and such to do, had a first communion, all sorts of things going on. But it is always astonishing to me. So I borrowed a chainsaw from my father-in-law, and my wife was very concerned about my operation of it, or that I
Yes.
would know how to operate it.
Yes.
And she kept saying, well, make sure you're wearing gloves and goggles and all of these things. Yes.
when
Mr.
you say
Zerr.
chainsaw, are you talking about a good, true, old-fashioned chainsaw? Are you talking about the kind that's like on the end of
No,
a
no,
long
a
pole?
true chainsaw.
Yeah, okay.
Except it was electric, so you just hit the button and away you go. Yeah. So she was very nervous. She was very nervous about me operating it. And I think sometimes my wife, we've been together a long time, I think she forgets where I grew up.
That's fair. It would be easy to do.
Yeah, I've operated a great many chainsaws in my life. And
seem like a man who has that backstory.
I know. It doesn't all work out that way because I fled it as fast as I could. But yes, I
but
can
you've done
indeed operate a chainsaw. So it was a great weekend. We were basically in, around, and outside. Got the garage. The wife wanted the garage clean, and she wanted the outdoor furniture out. So we did all of that, and away we go. And you had a nice one as well.
Yeah,
how was Nana?
We had the big baby shower on
baby
Saturday, which was fantastic. Went very well. And was, I think, very special for Kayla, obviously, which was great for Miss Kay. And then Sunday we had Mother's Day, and it was awesome. I hosted for the meal of food, and I had 3 big racks of baby back ribs.
Nice.
And then I smoked 4 pork tenderloins, and these were...
You smoked them up, huh?
The pork tenderloins, they're so good.
And it's a
so
delicate
easy.
meat.
It's so easy.
So you can overdo it. So that sometimes it can get overdone.
Very
Not a man of
easy.
your skill, but
very
easy. In
you
rookie
just
hands.
smoke it, and when it
awful.
gets to 142, you take it out, and you let it sit for like 10 minutes, and it's perfect.
Then they're good to go.
Oh, yeah. But the ribs, didn't try a new method on the ribs. So I marinated both of these. The pork tenderloins, it's really easy. If anybody ever wants it, if they got a Traeger, it's one of the Traeger recipes. It's very easy. You marinate it in apple juice,
Okay.
fresh thyme, pepper. I throw the Traeger pork and poultry rub in there.
Yep.
A bunch of that in there, and then some honey, and you whisk it around, and then just dump it in all over the tenderloins and shake them up, and then I let them marinate for 24 hours.
Tenderloins or baby backs?
The tenderloins.
Oh, tenderloins you did that with.
Yep.
Okay,
And then the baby backs, I did same 24-hour marination. The baby backs, I cut them in half so that they would fit in the bags. Put 1 rack per bag. And I marinated them in Stubbs
Yep.
pork marinade. I added some more apple juice. And before I put them into that mixture, obviously, I coated them in the Traeger rub. And then left those in there for 24 hours. And when I sous vide them in that.
Oh, you sous vide them.
Yeah, I sous vide the
Very
ribs
interesting.
in there
Okay.
for 10 hours.
Oh,
at
baby.
160 degrees.
Oh, come on.
And then took them out and then got them onto the grill. I had the grill not full hot because my grill can get like
Too
800,
hot,
900, not full hot, but like in the like 500-ish range. And then did them about, bone down with the top down to kind of caramelize, brush them with barbecue sauce, and then did that way for like 5 minutes and then flipped them over and did a little bit just to char the top real quickly for like a minute or two. And they were the juiciest, most succulent. I love a rib bone. I love a rib bone.
It's like a meat candy bar, buddy.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
And these were particularly good baby backs. I think what people, so your rack, I'm going to do a little drawing here, kind of goes like this, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so you got like the longer bones on one side.
Yep.
Let me tell you something. This is the money area.
That's where you need to be. You're right. Yeah,
The
that's
end of
sweet
the
spot.
short side where you have like, it's almost like triple
The
layer
chunk.
of meat.
Yeah, the chunk, yeah.
Oh, baby.
Come on.
Come on. So I thought I'd over-ordered 9 people.
Okay.
One of which was my mom. 3 racks of ribs that were, and each rack was at least like 2.75 to 3 pounds. So these were big racks.
Okay.
And then the 4 pork tenderloins. And there was 3 rib bones left, and there's half of a pork tenderloin maybe.
Man. I can't think of it with the ribs from the perspective of how much it weighs. I think of it how many bones each human's going to eat.
Yeah.
Because you slice them afterwards and then
My brother-in-law Alec and I each had 9 bones. We were the leaders.
you were the leaders in the clubhouse with 9 bones.
Alec
Yeah.
really went. He went 9 legit. I went 8 legit. And then as we were cleaning, Kayla's dad had left 1 bone. I'm like,
We can't have that. It's just a spare out there.
yeah,
Let's
let's go.
one more bite. Who gets hurt?
I'll take that down right
I'll
now.
take that right now.
So I did. But it was great. Jack A had a wonderful time. We had a great bottle of wine she was very excited about, and we're doing well.
Nice, very
Yeah.
good. This was fun this weekend here for the rookie minicamp. We that was a really fun show we did Friday when we were
it
able
was
to
as fun
broadcast.
as fun as we've had in quite some time.
Yeah, this was really cool to have stuff to react to live and to take it all in. And you and I and Siciliano and Gibbe and everyone involved on Friday were out there, and we said, if you were watching a first-round pick at quarterback, if either Dylan Gabriel or Shadour Sanders were a first-round pick, and you were just watching them throw, it wasn't on air. I mean, It was 7-on-7. There was defensive. This wasn't just throwing at nobody. Like, this was timing stuff you had to hit. And it was such a rarity that a ball hit the ground from either guy. It was such a rarity that there was a pass that was off. They both were just incredibly accurate and incredibly natural throwers. And Shadour, I mean, he looks like it, and so does Dylan. They look like, and the way that they performed this weekend was worthy of someone if you picked him in the first round. I remember Baker's first mini camps and those things that took place here, and I don't know that he was as sharp as those two guys were over the course of this weekend. I thought they both appointed themselves very, very well, and it led to a very fun weekend here where a lot got done, and that's what happens when you have upwards of 60 people there. You can have real football.
Yeah, you had real team periods every day. You had 7-on-7s every day. Sunday was not open to the media, but I've been able to digest some of that content, which has been exhilarating to say the least. Here's the thing. Both these guys had played a lot of football. Both of these guys were polished, and that showed. Now, will that carry on when veterans are here? That'll be interesting to see, right? This was a level of competition where those two guys were the best guys on the field. Not to say Mason Graham was great and Schlesinger had the pick of Gabriel in the red zone that we saw and all that, but when you're talking about just like the guys that were on for every single play, you had one of those two guys. Those were the top guys there because of the position that they play, the experience. We're talking about the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, the all-time leader in starts in FBS history, the all-time leader in passing touchdowns in FBS history, and then in Shadour, the most accurate quarterback in the history of the FBS. So these are not maybe your typical rookies. What I would say is this. If Shadour Sanders were the number 2 pick in this draft, and you said this on Friday, and I will echo it for those who did not hear that. I don't know if we said this on the air or not, but we both were on the exact same page. And I actually texted somebody this over the weekend. I said, if Shadour Sanders were the number 2 pick, and this session over the weekend, and obviously what the coaches were able to see on Sunday, were viewed through the lens of this is the number 2 pick in the draft, this is our savior, there would be paranoia in this town. It would be hysteria. People would be like, we're back.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
total.
yeah.
It would
No question.
It would be bedlam.
No question.
It would be bedlam. Now, because he's the 144th pick, you're not viewing it through that lens, and he has a very uphill battle to be able to get those meaningful reps. But I will tell you this kid is accurate. Both of them, incredibly accurate. The ball doesn't need to move from where they put it. They put it in places that only their receivers can get it. You saw on Saturday the back shoulder throw from Shadour. You've seen him throw bombs. There was one on Sunday that I just got to watch that was an easy 57 in the air. We watched another one that was a 25-yard dig that was on a rope. Like, I don't know if he really worked on his arm strength. I don't know if he kind of sandbagged it in the process. I don't know what happened.
It's hard to say, yeah.
Velocity, certainly not a problem there. Ball padding stuff, not a problem. He looks great, and Dylan Gabriel looks excellent. But I'm talking about when you watch the best quarterbacks, and Dylan Gabriel was excellent. This is not taking away from him, and I'm not trying to get into this, and we'll talk about how people are already trying to tribalize this whole thing. It's not. Let's just let the best person win. But Shadour in the 7-on-7s, like if the ball hit the ground, it's because it was dropped. Like the one I showed you.
Yep.
That ball catches itself.
Yep.
He was everything that I think you would have wanted to see if you were the Cleveland Browns that said this was a very worthwhile gamble. Now, this is rookie minicamp, and I'll go back to it. They are the best, most accomplished, most experienced players on the field. By far.
Oh, yeah.
Like, by far.
Yeah.
I mean, Judkins obviously is experienced too, but
it's different.
These are passing camps.
Yeah, these are passing camps,
anyway.
and these are kids who have played. Dylan Gabriel, 6 years of college football.
63 starts.
Yeah. Shadour Sanders is a 4-year starter.
4-year starter.
4-year starter. 2 at Jackson State and 2 at Colorado. So he's a 4-year starter. It's 50 starts. I mean, it's so much football that the two of them have played, and that's what it looked like.
Yes. This was very encouraging, folks. This is very encouraging. Again, let's see when now they're playing against NFL competition, how these reps are going to be divvied up. That is going to be fascinating to me. All I know is if I was Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees and I'm watching this, I'm saying to myself, bless you. I'm saying to myself, we're in a very good spot. And we don't know what necessarily has happened so far with Kenny Pickett, things like that. But right now what you would say is we are in a good spot with these two young guys. And I'll tell you the other guy that really jumped out, Judkins' explosiveness. He and Sampson, they're going to be. I think that's going to be a great running back duo for a long time.
So hard with running back.
It's very hard
because you're not being tackled. So it's
and that's kind of one of the things that he does so well. But I will tell you, Harold Fannin Jr. stands out. He stands out.
Such a professionalism
in a
big
way, and he knows how to run routes. He knows how to catch the football. He looks very good. But
I thought Schlesinger stood out too. I thought he just bounces off the screen. He's really fast. He's a lot bigger than I anticipated him being.
240.
Yeah, and his height. I mean, he's a big dude.
Had
Like,
a
he
red
looks
zone
it.
pick of Gabriel
On Saturday.
Yeah,
Yep.
A nice play.
really nice play. Yeah, he looks. The first day it jumps out because he's wearing the shorter shorts than everybody, but
Yeah.
you see his height, you see his speed, you see how quickly he's around the ball. Like he popped off for sure on that side of things. So yeah, I mean, I think what you saw from this organization, and I think Kevin deserves a great deal of respect for this and tip of the hat for this. He engineered a rookie minicamp, which is usually just kind of a let's just get through it. He engineered the beginning of the quarterback competition.
Yep.
That's what he did. That's why there were upwards of 60 people here. That was the most work I've ever seen in a rookie minicamp. That's the most people I've ever seen in a rookie minicamp. That's the most good stuff, get done work I've seen. Reps. I mean, that was
And they're splitting the reps
incredible.
exactly evenly.
Yeah.
Exactly evenly in the team periods, in the 7-on-7s, and most days had a team period and 2 7-on-7 periods. So you think that's probably a 7-on-7 is roughly 8 reps a guy.
Yeah.
So you're talking 22 to 24 reps a day per guy. That's a lot. It's over 3 days. So now we're talking, 65 plus reps. That's almost a full game's worth of reps that you were able to see from these two quarterbacks. And I think that is massively valuable information and just a good start. And both of these guys looked excellent. Honestly, they both looked excellent. If either one of them were a first-round pick, you'd be feeling very, very good. Obviously, what you saw from Dylan, solid, much better arm in person than you would think. And then Shadour was it started rocky on that very first snap, bumbled in and kind of threw that little floater up there, and you're like, oh, man. And then he settled in the first day, and then Saturday was excellent, and then Sunday, excellent again. And I'm talking ball not hitting the ground, dimes.
I didn't think there was
dimes.
There was not a single throw he's not incapable of making.
No, we
everywhere.
saw. We watched one.
Saw everything.
You and I watched one today that was 57 yards in the air, right on stride, and no issue. And the 25-yarder was no issue.
None.
So I don't know. Maybe that's something he's been secretly working on, but he looked good. The pocket, you can tell they're working on him climbing the pocket. He did a good job with that. He was really impressive. The ball placement that he is able to get on his throws. I'll tell you what, I would not want a part of him in beer pong. I'd have to feel like he'd be very good in beer
Quite
pong.
good at that, yeah.
Yeah,
Quite good at
he knows how to throw a ball where he wants it to be thrown. And we're talking like side of the body, the height of it, all of it. Very impressive.
We were talking about Schlesinger. One of the loyal listeners of our show is the great Ryan McCombs, who's the lead singer of Soil and Drowning Pool, still is. And we correspond. You got it. Yeah, absolutely. So
That's a lot of ECW music.
yeah,
right
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so he's a loyal listener, and so we've had a correspondence which I enjoy thoroughly over the last decade or so.
Nice, give him my regards.
And one of the things, like he just sent me a picture of Ronnie Sunshine Bass for Schlesinger, and it's pretty much right on it. Like they look a lot.
Yeah, I
very
like that.
similar. Yeah, it was a good job out of him.
We have to shout out our top pick,
Mason Graham.
who had a boot and rally, the likes of which I have not seen someone do since college.
Since you were running from the cops in BG like that poor kid
Allegedly.
last summer.
Allegedly.
That was one of the highlights of this when you broke down how he missed the turn. That poor kid, remember, was running through the
Went the
streets
wrong
of Bowling
way.
Green. He went the wrong way,
Got
buddy.
to go into the residential neighborhood,
You gotta
not
get
down
in
the
there.
main street.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Literally had a
Yeah.
moment. Coach said in the presser on Saturday after practice, probably enjoyed the wings in the cafe, maybe a little too much during lunch. Had a reversal of fortune while on the line. Everybody had to, no one knew exactly what had happened, but you figured it out relatively quickly. He runs over, rinses his helmet out, puts it right back on, and goes right back out for drills.
It's awesome.
So it's hard, I think, a lot of people in these situations, it's really hard to have your defensive tackle pop, but I will say in watching him, he is in the backfield a lot.
We should be.
In
this operation, he
Yes.
should be. Then the next thing is
how's
when
that go against
Bitonio
Joe
and Teller
Bitonio and Teller and Posick?
then you'll really see. But he should be in these. He
Yes.
should shine, and he did. Couple other things in terms of where, in regard to us. NFL Network reporter Mike Garafolo, the Browns are signing veteran safety DeMonte Kazi. Kazi spent the past 3 seasons in Pittsburgh. 32 years old. He started 63 of 107 career games last season, 50 games, 1 start. This was a room that we needed depth. The safety room, and so this adds to that depth. We still might need a little more, honestly. But
yeah,
this
so what
helps.
he gives you, former 5th-round pick of the Falcons back in 2017, what he gives you is much more of kind of like that, what I would call box safety, like a big nickel if we were to play, for example, the 3 safeties. Like he could fill that Rodney McLeod void. They must be very into one of the young guys, and we'll get, obviously, when we talk to Coach Bondo, we should get an idea about that behind Ronnie Hickman, because right now Hickman's your free safety, Delpit's your strong, and then Kazee would be kind of your backup strong, but also your kind of third. Now, he's played free safety as well in the league, so he kind of has versatility to do both, but I think as he gets a little bit older, he's more kind of come down into that big nickel role. Led the NFL with 7 picks in 2018. He's got 7 picks over the last 4 seasons. He had 2 in 21, 2 in 22, 2 in 23, just 1 last year. He is a big hitter. In fact, his season last year ended after 15 games because of a hit that he put on Michael Pittman that was shut him down for the season after that. So he'll bring the lumber, but a veteran back there, and into the mix. So basically, Juan Thornhill went from here to Pittsburgh, and Casey.
Casey? Okay.
DeMonte Casey, Kay-Z.
Is there a Y in it? Or that's the pronunciations with a Y?
Pronunciations with a Y.
With a Y.
Kay-Z.
Right, very good.
Yeah, DeMonte Casey.
Schedule comes out Wednesday at 8. Some highlights starting to find their way out. Thursday night, September 4th, the NFL season opens with the Eagles hosting the Cowboys. Mr. Zagura.
This is one of those that feels to me like to the, victor goes the spoils.
Uh-huh.
There is no doubt in my mind that Jeffrey Lurie said, we've been very good. We went down to Brazil for you last year. What we would like to do is unfurl our championship banner.
That's right.
In the face of Jera. And so we would like to open the season with there's no doubt in my mind that's what this is.
That's what I thought too. It just struck me as like
latte Larry.
Because usually it's a spite store for sure. Usually it's like you get a Super Bowl rematch, or they try to do something. Usually they don't go divisional. So to give them Dallas, that struck me as well. Of like, oh, by the way, Jera, we've won 2 of these. In the last decade. How's it going for you? How's that all working?
Yep. There's no, like I said, there's no doubt in my mind that's what it is.
So you're starting to see this stuff leak out. And there will be some more. There will be some announcements tomorrow, I'm sure. And more stuff will leak out. Do we want to do anything with the Cavs here? What do you think? I mean, it's cooked, right?
If you'd like to be my guest.
Kev, please don't.
Kev's like
just
Cavalier Kev.
Awful.
Look,
by the way, I'll just say that I think our commentary from that other day was not all that far off. Like, Mobley was out there 2 days later running around just fine. Hunter didn't even have anything on his hand for a dislocated thumb.
Yeah.
I think they thought they could win. I think it was a strategic move. They were going to win without him.
And then
they didn't.
And then they didn't. I don't understand why Indy is playing on that ridiculous court and in those uniforms. That's the only mean thing I can say about them. Other than that, they've played this kind of perfectly. The only thing that was nice about last night is they were up 41 at half, and so I didn't have to stay up. And
it was nuts.
Could go to sleep. I didn't have to stay up and watch. I was like, okay, that's it. It's enough of it.
They're good. They're scrappy.
They were a tough match.
They're a good team. Yeah. Miles Turner is playing out of his mind. They got Siakam still.
Yeah.
Halliburton, I feel like, never is on the court. I just feel like he's always resting. But he's good.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. No, they're just ultra physical, and they just bully. They bully ball. I mean, we couldn't – it was like a little kid team that – and you see this all the time in youth basketball. You'll see it with the young Zogs. But when there's certain kids that are just ahead of others, and at young ages they'll like pick you up at half court. And if you don't have ball handlers, you basically can't run your offense.
Yeah.
You're just bullied out to half court, and you can't even get into anything. And that's what was happening with the Cavs the whole first half. They were bullied to like running their offense at half court, and they couldn't get into anything. That 17-0 run before half was 61-38, and then he had a step back.
He was a heat check step back three from like 28.
It's like, okay, I guess it's that type of night. Yeah.
Siakam, they couldn't. Yeah, they were. Well, especially. So this is my takeaway from it, and this was an annoying takeaway to have, honestly, because I've watched every minute of the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, I watched regular season basketball. I watched some. I probably went to a handful of games. It's different when there's different intensity, but it pains me, and I don't know if CK will push back on this, but last year the undoing was just getting beaten up by the Knicks, and they were just tougher and more physical and seemed to want it more. That seems to be the case here. I will say Mitchell played his heart out.
God, he does.
And the other guy that I think has shown to be playoff tough and like a real dude is Strus. Like, Strus is absolutely a winning player. Is he your starter, or is he a sixth-man, seventh-man? I don't know, but he's competing at the level and matching the physicality and intensity of the Pacers. But there aren't a lot of guys that are doing that. And Ty Jerome, is he on milk carton? Where's he at?
Yeah, it's I don't know. We'll see. Now, if you're them, you just win game 5. Just win game 5, and then the pressure's on Indy in 6. So just try to get a game 5.
It's not over at all.
No. Not far from it.
Well, Mitchell's out, and they're saying he's
going to play. He'll play.
I would think so.
He'll play.
I would think
a much more finite issue that happened yesterday. So the 2-on-2 series have begun. Me and Bootsy versus NBC and Beamsy.
You didn't.
Oh, I mean they would get us some last year.
Okay.
They would get us.
All right.
There were certain things that you haven't been gotten yet.
No. And he still hasn't beaten me one-on-one, so we're fine there. But like they won. We always play best of first. We play a series to 21 2s and 3s. They won the first 3. They won the first 3 games. And we should have won game 3, and it was like, okay, we got to go, and we didn't. So we won game 4, and we just stopped. Bootsy and I won game 4. But we won it on a steal, Bootsy kick to me, Bootsy release, get a wide-open layup to win it. So it was 20-20 or else they sweep. At this point, it's a sweep. And I could come out here and say that I need more out of Bootsy. It's not a Bootsy problem. NBC's like 5'8", 135 now. So I got him by a couple inches and some pounds. But like I could still get the 3 off anytime I want. But I almost was to the point where I had to start making up rules because he was fouling me every time I would go to the rim so that I wouldn't win it. Because I'm like, we're going to win. So I just kept going to the rim, old man style. And he just kept hacking me. So I'm like, all right. I was out of frustration. It doesn't even make sense. I'm like, all right, next time you foul me, I get a free throw and the ball out of bounds. And he's like, that's not even a rule. What are you talking about?
It's the penalty, dude. You're in the bonus.
There's got to be some bonus
You're
or
in the
something.
bonus.
He just kept hacking me every time. And then eventually I took a 3 and I missed it. But anyway, so it's going to be a long summer. Bootsy and I have got to come up with some plans to handle them, or else it's going to be
It comes down to the 2 middles. There's you, there's him, and it comes down to the supporting cast.
I want to be invited over for Transformative Turkey, and I want to.
Well, it could be you and I versus the 3 of them, and we'd be fine. I'm telling you though, like their energy, and they don't miss mid range. They do not. So we play zone. I have Bootsy be up top, and because I got a rebound, I can't chase. I can't chase them all the time. So if I chase one of them, they'll blow by him. So he's got to play zone. I got to play underneath. But inevitably, if they spread the floor, it's hard to cover all the ground.
We're going to get them.
Well, we'll get them. We'll get them. But, I mean, it's going to be a long summer. It's going to be a long summer. So, no sweep, but down 3-1. That's not the way you want to start the summer, boys. That ain't it.
It's called a gentleman's sweep.
We'll work on some.
This is going to be a gentleman's sweep.
I know it is. It's the key is I got to start quick. I got to get buckets right away. I got to Bootsy running. That's what we got to do. But they put it on us pretty good. The one time they beat us like 21-10. Not good. Not good. Those are your hot topics today, presented by University Hospitals, official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. We will head to the podium. Coach Stefanski's thoughts on rookie minicamp. He has a great many of them. You will hear them coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. It's presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns.
You're going up.
Mark your calendars following Wednesday's schedule release. For 72 hours only, tickets purchased through the Browns' primary ticket marketplace will be fee-free, courtesy of Huntington National Bank. For offer details and to register to be notified when tickets go on sale, visit browns.com/tickets today. Now we head to the podium, presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package today for the ultimate game day. Here is head coach Kevin Stefanski from Rookie Minicamp.
Okay, really good first.
Goes down.
It's a beautiful day out here on the grass. They're doing a very, very nice job, as you would imagine, on their first day. You know, always make that first impression with the first day, and I thought they did a great job. They're all in their seats very early for these meetings, all very compliant. But no, really good group of guys. And then, I've brought in a bunch of impressive kids to take a look at. So that's kind of the fun part for us as coaches, is see what everybody can handle mentally, get them moving around, see what they can do physically. And then let them put their best foot forward, and then we'll go from there.
So, Kevin, when you get the quarterbacks, just the quarterbacks, on the field for the first time at a camp like this, what are some of the things you pay the most attention to?
Well, I think the fun part is we've spent so much pre-draft time with these players, particularly when we're talking about our quarterbacks with Dylan and Shadour. We've spent meeting time with them out of this building, we've taken them through walkthroughs, and then they get to go do it in uniform with the helmets on, and just see what they can take from the meeting room to the grass. And I thought both guys did a nice job.
What kind of early homework are you giving these guys as they head out to the facilities and obviously come back for this mini camp?
They have a lot of homework. They have a lot of film to watch, playbooks to look at. You know, you don't want to overburden a player where he's not going to play fast, but you want to see what they can handle. You want to push them, not to their limits, but certainly push them. So there's studying that needs to be done. We'll install plays on offense and defense that maybe we won't even practice, but we want them to spend the time out of this building in their playbook, and then be ready to roll tomorrow morning. So they'll all sleep well.
How many hours of prep work did it take to get a collection of 47 players to run a team in the 7-7 drill?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we can't really talk to them until yesterday, Thursday, when they arrived. So it's a lot of. I wish there was a secret to it, but it's a lot of just time in the meeting rooms, time on the board. I think it's helpful when you have a bunch of smart players, which I think we have that. And then the coaches kind of, once we get them here in the building, they were around the clock, maybe not completely around the clock. Okay, don't check me on that. But spending every waking moment that they had available to them to get them ready. And it's a lot of walkthroughs too. I should mention, I think we started this morning at 7 a.m. I bet you there was a ton of walkthrough at each position going out on throughout the day.
When you draft two running backs like you guys did, do you consider how they complement each other in that process, or do you just get them in here and kind of figure it out?
Yeah, well, I think we picked Q, and obviously his skill set. So I think Dylan was a player we really, really liked a lot throughout the process. So I think it really just so happens that they're different in style, which I think is beneficial. I think when you're talking about the running back position and the quintessential change of pace, sometimes that pace can turn into you can go from a speed back to a stronger back, or vice versa. So I think it really did just happen that way, but we liked both of those guys a lot going into this draft process.
How much does the plan for a rookie minicamp get altered when it's rare that you draft two quarterbacks, right? Like, I didn't know if that's happened before in your career, but does it change the thinking, or do you go into conscious got to split these guys up more so maybe than if it was an undrafted?
I think rookie minicamps over the last 20 years, that has changed. Back in the day, it was a full-on minicamp. It was 2 practices a day. It was a lot of reps, and there's been a effort to do a little bit less on the field in recent years. And part of the reason is these guys are on the draft circuit, and they're traveling to every building and organization for interviews, and it's hard to stay in football shape in that way. So you'd get guys hurt, really. So we're trying to balance the ability to get some live reps and see these guys move and still do it safely, because it is May and these guys haven't been playing football in a little while.
You said yesterday that both quarterbacks were as advertised. I think that was the phrase you used. I know it's only 2 days here, but did you notice any difference between what you saw from them yesterday versus what you saw today as far as a positive progression?
Yeah, I wouldn't say much. I think everybody's on. You want to be on that progression, Darryl. You want to continue to get better every single day. Our installs will increase, so there was more on their plate today than there was yesterday, and obviously tomorrow we'll have a little bit more and a couple new plays. So with all of these young players, and certainly at the quarterback position, you have to know what the install is for that given day and master those plays for that given day, and then we'll revisit them at a later date. But so much of it is committing these things to memory, getting a walkthrough rep in the indoor before we come out here, and then getting a physical rep. I mean, there's concepts that we're working in practice here that we haven't gotten full speed reps yet from our vets, because the vets can't go offense or defense. So we're kind of in the laboratory on a few concepts to see what they look like in live speed.
Yesterday, in relation to quarterbacks, you said that everything's being scrutinized, locker room, meeting room. Do you care how they present themselves?
I said evaluate. I didn't say scrutinize, Tony. That's your word. Go ahead.
How they present themselves in interviews. Do you watch the interviews?
This guy does. He watches all of them.
How important is that to project themselves?
How important is that, Chief?
We want all of our players to represent themselves in the organization. That's good.
Ask the Chief. I think, Tony, these young, I think you guys are getting to know these young players, quarterbacks, this whole rookie class. these are some impressive young men. They're really good on the field. They're really good off the field. But part of talking with you guys is talking to our fans. We want them to get a feel for who these young men are, and I think the more they get to know them, they'll understand that these guys really want to work hard at this thing. It's their craft. It's now, as I've told them, it's now their job.
Yeah, Ken yesterday was talking about like his NFL moment was seeing his name on his locker, and other guys have talked about walking in the building and maybe seeing Miles in there. Do you see them go from kind of wide-eyed rookie to okay, now we're in this? Like, can you see that evolution of him over a weekend?
I think I will see it. I don't know if I've seen it yet. It's early, and this is the fun part for these guys. They've been dreaming about this for their whole life. I mean, whether you heard your name called in the draft or you're signed after the draft or whatever it is, to walk in here, put the jersey on, put the helmet on, it's pretty special. And I'm happy to be a part of that with those guys, but there's also a lot on their mind. There's maybe not so much time to reflect for them just yet, but it is pretty special for their first time out here as Cleveland Browns.
Kevin, have you saw from the quarterbacks 2 days so far? How do you think they'll stack up against Kenny and Joe when they all get together?
Yeah, not so much worried about how they stack up per se, Mary Kay, but excited to have them around Deshaun, Joe, Kenny, welcome them into the quarterback room, and understand that that's a place where we work really hard. We talk about a ton of football, high-level football, and I think they'll fit in really well.
Kevin, last one. The offensive line at some point here, the reality is it's going to go through a transition. A lot of guys in the final year of the contract and things like that. What have you seen from a lot of these young kids you brought in this weekend? And is there potentially an opportunity for one or two of them to maybe get an opportunity here?
Yeah, we'll see. I think that's the beauty of this camp and any opportunity you get on the grass with your coaches is to show what you can do. So these are young guys. Coach Bloomgren is working them really hard. They're taking coaching like we talked about earlier. They're all getting better, and then we'll see how how it all shakes out at the end of this thing. But the focus right now on what they're doing, they've done a really nice job.
You mentioned with the homework that you send them, you don't want to overwhelm them. You want to push them but not overwhelm them. What's the approach then on the field when you're in the moment coaching them up?
Yeah, very similar, Cam, in that you want to we want to push them. We want it to be hard, and as you saw from Mason, it was hard. But we're not trying to be. We're trying to be smart too, and not put anybody in harm's way, so to speak, because the numbers in line are not as big as they typically are. So you have to be really smart, and I think the position coaches are doing a really nice job in making sure that these guys, we're getting our money's worth in terms of what we're working. But it's also a teaching tempo the majority of the time we're out there.
What does it say about Mason that he gets sick and then I watched him rinsing out the helmet himself actually, and then go down and work with Jock again?
He also apologized to the offensive line because they were real close to it and almost standing in it. But he's fine. He's got the right mentality.
Have you seen Dylan and Shore on the field in the moment as you guys are going through the installs or the plays, ask questions about if they have questions and how they're really kind of showing you what they've learned? Yeah,
there's lots of questions. That's good. This is the time certainly to ask those questions. Coach Musgrave, Coach Reese are in there before meetings, after meetings, available for text message at night if they have questions on certain concepts. So there's no easy way to just pour an install into a person and say, here's our offense, here's our playbook, figure it out. It just takes time. This is not something that you can just pick up and snap your fingers. I wish it was. So there's just a lot of meetings. You're going to make mistakes, both physical and mental, and what we're trying to do is coach off of those and learn from those.
All right, there you go. Coach Stefanski from this weekend from the podium, presented by Vivid Seats. Purchase your official fan experience package day for the ultimate game day. We talked earlier in the program about the signing of safety DeMonte Casey. That is not the only safety. We've added another one, Dr. Z.
Yeah, so in looking at this, reportedly, and I'll get that in a second, but looking at KZ's snaps by position last year, 276 at free safety. So I think my guess is then that the Browns would be viewing him more as a free safety type. That's what he was in Pittsburgh. He was their single high guy with Minka there. So he can do both. He's done both in his career, but maybe he's got a little bit more free safety side to him. And then Rayshawn Jenkins, who's a former fourth-round pick of the Chargers back in 2017, a veteran who has been in this league for a very long time, 122 games in his career that he has played, 89 career starts, 10 career interceptions. He's a little bit more of a box guy. If you go back 2 years ago, 2022, 116 tackles for him, and 2023 with Jacksonville, he had 101 tackles, was in Seattle last year. His 2 years prior in Jacksonville, 5 picks in those 2 seasons. Last year, he had a fumble recovery for a touchdown there with the Seattle Seahawks. So 21 passes defensed in 22 and 23. Did not have any last year, but maybe a little bit more. He'll be maybe more the box guy then, and KZ. So that just gives you, now you've got a good group of 4. You've got Delpit and Hickman as your starters, and now you've got some versatility with Jenkins and with KZ at the safety position. So I liked it. That's a room that needed to be remade. It was a room that I had brought up. Dibbe was there. I brought that up, and yes, apparently it has been addressed.
It's been addressed. So there you go. So 2 additions to the safety room now over the course of the last 24 hours or so, reportedly. I
will be honest, and maybe this is somebody who's holding out for more money. I would imagine these are going to be not necessarily veteran minimum deals, but close to it. I really thought Julian Blackmon was somebody that the Browns would have a target on. Younger, third-round pick in 2020. He's got 7 picks over the last 2 seasons, and right now he remains unsigned, which is kind of shocking to me. I thought that he would have fit really, really well with what we were doing. He's just 26 years old, too. But I'm guessing he was going to command a lot more money than the Browns were willing to pony up at this point.
All right, there you go. Coming up next, we'll go around the sports world. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Add more fun to your fandom with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download today, get 50 back in bonus bets. So you place that first wager of 10 or more. Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. I got to be honest with you. If you were to give me a million guesses of a former all-time great who is going to now all of a sudden be on television commenting on the sport he once played, this would be my last choice.
My first choice would be...
I just would not think he ever would have done this.
Michael Jordan.
You thought he would have been the one?
No.
I doubt it.
No.
So Jordan is going to NBC's NBA coverage as a special contributor. I don't know what that means.
That's interesting.
I was thinking about this. I don't think I've ever heard him talk about the modern game.
Yeah.
Have you?
No. I've only heard him talk about
racing and golf and the Last Dance, but I've never heard him say anything about that. He talked about Kobe at his funeral and that type of stuff, but like nothing.
Well, the Grove's undergoing a reno, so maybe that's taking his time away to.
Obviously, NBC wrote a very big check, but this is a man worth a couple billion, so I don't know how much he even needs that. But I just am surprised because he just hasn't done anything publicly with basketball other than talk on The Last Dance or about Kobe.
Yeah, I would have thought it might be
years.
like Magic coming back. Remember he used to do some commentary? And he used to
borderline
say,
awkward.
He used to say brute strength.
Yeah.
He's dominating him.
He's not great at TV.
Strong.
He was not great at TV.
No,
I don't know if Jordan will be good at TV.
I don't know if
know.
he will either.
Depends on what they use him for.
I mean, it is wild that you have the two goats in their respective sport, asterisk obviously on football, Joe Montana, commentating right now. And Brady was not as good a commentator as he was a player.
No, but at least the thing with Jordan is we have 20 years of him being gone from basketball.
Yeah.
Like he just hasn't even he's owned the Hornets, but and he owned Washington, part of Washington when he came back and played for them. But we just haven't heard him comment on it at all. So I'm fascinated to see what that looks like. But they're going full nostalgia. They're bringing back the music. Tasha's redoing the music. You got that. You got Jordan now is going to be a part of it. And did you guys see this? The guy who was the voice of the NBA on NBC, he tragically passed in 2016. They're going to use AI to recreate his voice. They did get the blessing of the family. But the guy's been passed since 2000. I forget the guy's name. But there's a guy who's like the voice of the NBA on NBC.
Correct.
And they're going to use AI to recreate his voice.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, they're going the full nostalgia play. I was at least happy that they asked for the mom's.
Yeah, blessing.
So
do they have the finals? What?
No, they're going to
do this for?
Aren't they doing? ESPN has the finals. I'm pretty
ABC
sure.
Always does. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the NBC package is going to replace Turner, and I think they're going to do Sunday Night Basketball.
Yes.
Is what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's part of it.
That's right. I remember that.
They're going to do Sunday Night Basketball. It's going to be their big thing. I just don't. I don't know. I'm dubious.
It's an 11-year agreement.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money and a lot of years.
Yeah. It's a lot for these apps, though, and I have experience with this because Big Ten is on Peacock. It's a pain in the neck is what it is.
Yeah.
And you have to play when they need you to play. So, for example, you'll play 9 o'clock tip, like the Buckeyes play 9 o'clock tip, not to say that'll happen to the Cavs, but like when you're in that national window, you do whatever they say. So, I don't know. I've just never heard him talk about the sport. We'll get into the NBA draft lottery in the second hour of the program. We want to get to Z one-on-one with one of the stars of Rookie Camp. He is Shadour Sanders. That is coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily. We're presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns.
Welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet. Very excited now to be joined by one of the newest members of your Cleveland Browns, quarterback Shadour Sanders. Shadour, let me officially welcome you to the Cleveland Browns. Congrats on being here. How you doing?
I'm excited to be here. I'm ready to do big things, accomplish a lot of great things, and be a great teammate.
Rookie minicamp. That's what we're talking right now. You're about to get first time, be able to put the uniform on, get out on the grass. What are you hoping to do as you kind of just assimilate in here into the National Football League?
I'll say, of course, establish myself first in the locker room, first around the building, have everybody understand me, and just create, great dialogue between everybody, just be a good teammate, honestly.
When you say you want everybody to understand you, what is it that you want our listeners, because they're not going to get to be around you in the locker room, what is it that you want people to understand about you?
Well, I'm saying understand me. What I'm speaking on is understand, I work hard, and I love the game of football. That's all you really need to know. And, I ain't disrespectful. I don't have off-the-field problems. So those main three things is that equals success.
All right, when I watch your tape, I would say the three things that stand out to you about as a quarterback: accuracy, most accurate passer in the history of college football, decision-making, and then toughness. You took a beating in Colorado. You got up every single time. That's what Kevin Stefanski said. Those are the three things he looks for in a quarterback. So do you feel like this is a good match here for you in Cleveland?
Yeah, of course. That's why it worked out. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm a Brown. I feel like God won't put me in a situation I'm not ready for, and that's not ready for me. So that's why I'm thankful for the city embracing me how they have been, being able to go and see the kids just working out. They running with me, clapping for me when I get done working out and stuff. And it's real cool. It's real exciting. And the city really embraced me a lot. And I'm just excited to be here.
How'd you come up with that idea? Because you get drafted and then you're actually, you can come right in right away. Otherwise, you're not really allowed to be here until minicamp. You said, you know what, I'm coming to Cleveland. It's going to be my new home. You've been around in the community. You talked about reference some of the videos where the kids getting excited to see you come work out with you. What was the brainchild behind that, and what was that experience like?
I mean, I was ready to get to work in my new city. Before Pro Day, I've been working at home, thanks to Pops. He built everything we needed to be successful. So I was ready to get acclimated to my new city. So I came out here, met everybody, got the resource I needed to be great. And going to the schools, I've been doing that since during the season last year, since even before that. So that was just something, I generally do and what I find fun. It's a lot of negativity. It's a lot of talk going on in the world. So then that's where I find my, my peace, my happiness, my joy is be able to have positive influence on the youth.
It's a beautiful thing because, as you said, it is a little bit of a crazy world, so they need that positive influence. And it's nice to see you kind of come in here already assimilate into Cleveland. You know this city loves football. I think you probably have felt that since you've been drafted. That is what this city is about, the Cleveland Browns. What's kind of that reception been like for you from the fans?
It been extremely well, I would say. I understand. Really, I feel like the Browns fans, they just want something to hope for, and they've been wanting it so long. So finally, I'm here to change that. I'm here to, actually give what they want.
Well, you said you went to Jackson State. You said if you wanted somebody to turn a program around, you did it at Jackson State. You did it at Colorado. Now an opportunity here with the Cleveland Browns and an opportunity to compete. And that's something I know you don't shy away from. How excited are you about that opportunity? This is a city where one of the phrases is, right, everything is earned, nothing is given. And you have an opportunity to earn that opportunity to be legendary, as you just said.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's kind of like how my pop says, everything was earned.
Yep.
So the most he was able to do for us is give us an opportunity to play the game, to have resources and stuff. And from then on, it's about what you do with it. So that's why I'm grateful for the opportunity, and that's all I needed. That's why I thank Coach and everybody a part of the program and the franchise and everything. But I know what I'm going to do with it.
What was your father's kind of parting words to you as you embarked for Cleveland and to start this journey? Because you've been used to having him be the coach, not just your dad, but also the coach, and now that's going to change. Yeah.
I mean, I've been built for this moment. Yep. I've been built for this moment for year by year. In college, I was playing, for my offensive coordinator. So it don't feel, I would say, new to me at this point. I understand I got to go in here. I got to learn. I got to establish myself. I got to be a great teammate. I got to get all the elephants out the room with anybody, with anything, with any type of problem with what they heard or anything. So I mean, it's normal to me. I'm in my environment here. I'm
Yep.
comfortable. I got the resources here. We got the indoor weight
Yep.
room. We got training table. We got everything we need. So I don't think anything's too much of a problem.
No, and the beautiful thing about this game, right, it's the great meritocracy. What happens on those fields, that's all that matters. Yeah. And you talked about playing for your offensive coordinator. It's got to be nice to have an offensive coordinator who is very familiar now with your NFL head coach. Pat Shurmur and Kevin Stefanski, they go way back, so I'm sure you got a lot of information about Kevin Stefanski from Pat Shurmur and vice versa.
No, for sure. It was great that, they have their relationship, so he's able to kind of like explain and tell them, what's real and what's not real. So I'm glad that they have that relationship. And a lot of the offense that we did at Colorado is parts of it that we learned.
Yep.
It's similar. So the game slowed down for me a little bit, I'll say, and I'm excited for it.
We're excited as well. So one thing, when I was watching you have a great deep ball, and it reminded me of Jeff Blake, because you throw some of those with a beautiful arc up there. And then I was doing some background on you. Yeah. He was kind of like your mentor when you decided to be a quarterback. First of all, how did that come to be? And is that why you have, I think you do have kind of that Jeff Blake style deep ball?
Yeah, he definitely started me out when I was younger, just getting adapted to the quarterback and understand what it really takes to be a quarterback. So that was really the foundation. That was the base of it. So, he told me how to throw that deep ball for sure a couple of times. It's just not registering for sure.
Yeah, it certainly is there. All right, so you get to be in here. One of the things I always like to ask people after the first time I get to talk to them is, football is the game. You are certainly, now it's different, right? You guys kind of have your own brands coming into the league. But when you go out there, you're in a helmet. People can't see your emotions all the time. What is it that you want Cleveland Browns fans to be thinking when they see the number 12, if that is the ultimate number, Sanders across the back? What do you want them to be thinking about Shadour Sanders? What do you want them to know about Shadour Sanders?
I'm here to work and win. I think everything off the field, that's going to handle itself. On the field, of course, that's what I want my personality, and that's what I want to be known for, is the one that came here and changed the franchise.
Yeah, well, that journey starts today, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Shadour, pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much, and good luck here with the
Thank
Cleveland
you.
Browns. All right, we'll be back with more Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, right after this.
Back for Season 2, Junior Browns Backers, presented by University Hospitals, Rainbows, Babies, and Children's in association with Cardinal Credit Union. The Cleveland Browns official Kids Club is gearing up for another season of fun. Ages 4 to 12, give your kid a chance in a full season of Browns memories, exclusive gear, experiences, events, plenty of surprises all season long. Visit juniorbrownsbackers.com to join today. Great stuff with Shadour. And really, this is the first weekend of what will be a very long and I think fun process. And that's kind of my view of it. You got 4 guys, may the best one win.
I think it is going to be a fun process, and I think you're exactly right. I really think you've got, to me, it feels like, just based on what I saw at that rookie minicamp and then what we know about Kenny Pickett and where we are as a franchise, it feels like it's like a 3-person competition, and then you have a, in case of emergency, break glass. And I don't mean that as any disrespect to Joe Flacco at all, who I love, but he's in his 40s, and this is a team trying to find its franchise quarterback.
Yep.
And I think that, you just kind of look at recent history, and it's, say, the last, 8 years of Flacco's career, like the notion that you're winning a Super Bowl with him as your quarterback at this point is probably would be a little optimistic or far-fetched, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're trying to find out. I think you got 3 young guys who are really going to go compete and try to win this job as the great Tarves walks by. Tarv, yes. Dude, how I got a pick for your guy? Got a nice little pick. Yeah, we saw that. That's right.
Yeah, he saw it.
He's the best. So I think that's where you are. How it goes and the divvying up of reps, that was one of the things that was so great about that rookie minicamp is that, you had everybody was able to have, 50-50 reps. How do you do it, and how quickly do you have to decide that somebody is separating themselves, or that somebody's separating themselves from 4 to 3 or 3 to 2, or because I was really impressed, and I thought even on tape was more impressive with Shadour. Really impressed. I was very impressed with Dillon Gabriel as well. Pickett has looked good since he has been here. Flacco looks great. I mean, the guy throws the ball. He's a professional thrower of the football. There's no doubt in my mind. But this is going to be fun. And people who are already freaking out saying it's not a circus.
No,
this is not a circus at all. I think it's actually being handled very, very well. And I think everybody's been very professional. But I thought Dillon Gabriel was excellent at the podium and has everything that you want in a leader. I think Shadour handled himself very well at the podium. Both, as I said, acquitted themselves very nicely on the field as well. This is a good situation. If you're a Browns fan right now, what I would say to you is have some hope. There's no guarantee that one of these guys is the answer, but I'd have some hope and know that your organization is not only set up for one of these 3 players, one being a former first-rounder that you didn't use a lot of draft capital on, and then you still have the 2 first-round picks next year. So have some hope that you've got bites at the apple, and maybe we are going to get this right. And wouldn't it be such a unique Browns story that if it does end up being Dillon Gabriel, or even Kenny Pickett, who started his career with the Steelers and then ends up working out here, or Shadour, who was supposed to be the second pick in this draft, who goes pick 144. Here's the other thing. Shadour, everybody would say, was a first or a second round talent. Everybody.
Top 35 consensus.
Everybody.
And most had him in the top 15. I mean, most.
Yeah, and plenty. Listen, and even people who were not necessarily big on Shadour, like Dane or Greg Cosell, thought still early second round. So that's
top
a talented.
35. Yeah,
that's a talented.
I think Dane
player.
had him 34,
yes.
32, somewhere in there. Yeah,
and so that is a talented football player. It shows when you watch him play. It shows.
That's what he looks like. That's when we were sitting there. He looks like the number 2 pick in the draft to me.
And if he did,
size-wise, arm-wise, talent-wise, all of it. It checks every box that you would do.
If you were with us in the first hour, sad, but welcome. If he was the second pick in the draft right now, people would be losing their minds.
Yeah, they would. Yeah.
But it's great, and because he's going to operate in a scenario where he's not the second pick in the draft. He's pick 144. Nothing will be given to him. Everything will be earned, and I think he's got a good shot to earn it. And I think Dillon Gabriel looked very good and has a good shot to earn it. Kenny Pickett, by all reports, has looked very good. He's got a shot to earn it. That's what's going to be fun about this. I really think it is as open as it could be.
You have 3 lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Is what I would kind of categorize the 3 young guys as. You just need one of them to hit. If one of them hits, then you don't have to deal with quarterback next year. And for people who say, well, they're not going to do that, that's not going to happen, there isn't anybody who thought Bo Nix would have the year that he had last year in Denver. Not anybody, except for maybe Sean Payton. Yep. I don't know anybody else thought that he was going to have the year he had last year in Denver. And look what he did.
Sean Payton and Jimmy Bang Bang.
Jimmy Bang Bang was the other one.
He
knew he was going there, but did he think he'd have that year?
I don't know about that.
That year was big. So, you can do it easier than ever. I thought when Shadour was talking with you, and he's like, a lot of some of the stuff we had at Colorado, I bet Pat Shurmur probably had a lot of influence on Kevin Stefanski and vice versa. So there is some familiarity there. There is no circus. It's just a true 3-headed / 3.5-headed quarterback competition.
Yep.
And if one of these young guys can seize it, then they can have it. So what I think is going to be really fun is going to be, to your point, we talked about doing 2 fields, right? So you can try and get all those reps in for everybody, kind of running 2 fields at the same time. You could see something like that. But I think it's going to be fascinating how the preseason ball is going to matter, man.
Oh, yeah.
Those practices, the inter-squad practices that we had, those are going to be huge.
I'll tell you what. The other thing is
joint practices. All that stuff's going to matter.
In the NFL collective bargaining, practice rules. I wonder what those practice rules are. Let's see if I can figure it out.
Are you worried about like the size?
No.
Or the length?
Permissible amount of on-field time and intensity during various phases. Here's the breakdown. Players may be on the field for a maximum of 2 hours per day during the 3-phase OTAs. Mandatory minicamp, 2-a-day practices are permitted on 2 of the 3 practices, with a maximum of 3.5 hours on the field per day. Training camp, once you get there, 2-a-day practices are permitted, but with strict limits for no more than 4 hours on the field per day and a 90-minute interval between practices. Second practice limited to walkthrough instruction and drills and acceptable pace. So that's what it always is. You have the walkthrough, that counts on field as one of the 2. So don't think of 2-a-day practices. So here's what I'm saying. I wonder, while you've got 90 guys here, we have not used our allotted time. And I will say, I don't think that it's necessarily led to a healthier football team.
Yeah. No. Obviously, we've had our fair share of injuries the last couple of years.
What if this year you do use all of your allotted time? Because I think it's critical to get these reps for these quarterbacks.
I agree. Yeah.
And you got 90 guys here. So maybe we're going to have longer practices here because of the quarterback situation. And maybe it ends up leading to a healthier football team because your body's going to be a heck of a lot more calloused.
Yeah.
And used to the grind by the time you get to the season.
Could very well be. And it feels like a necessity.
It feels like a necessity just from a time standpoint, as I see it. I mean, I think when you're talking about mandatory minicamp, you get 3.5 hours a day on the field. You could do an hour walkthrough and have a 2.5-hour practice.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't been in that vicinity.
No. Like maybe that's what we get into. Longer practice, more breaks in there, but get more reps.
Around the League, presented by Lee Filter, official gutter guard of your Cleveland Browns. In addition to NBC's announcement of their season opening game, Peacock will be the exclusive national home of the NFL Week 17 game in primetime, streaming live Saturday, December 27th, announced by NBC Universal. Will be selected from a pool of key NFL Week 17 games. They've done this in the past, and they've had a playoff game on Peacock too, so this is more an extension of that.
So they're going to have Saturday night Peacock, Sunday night NBC and Peacock.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they'll have a big marquee matchup.
How about this Derek Carr story?
Came out of nowhere.
Like a month ago, right before the mandatory or the involuntary time began, you find out that he's hurt and he may miss the season. You're like, wait, what? When did this happen? How did this happen? You've never gotten a straight answer to them on any of it. Now you do, that it's his throwing shoulder. We still don't know how the injury occurred.
No, we
Said
don't.
he had pain in it, but that was it. And then he shockingly retires, out of nowhere.
Yep.
So if you're New Orleans, if you're Rodgers, is this what you've been waiting for? Dome, easier division? If you're New Orleans, do you even want that, or do you lean into
just go Tyler Shuck, see what you got?
And maybe this is the year that maybe we're the one team that could get Arch Manning playing his hometown to come out after 1 year.
He's not coming no way.
Well, I know that, but if anything could tempt, I would think that would be on a short list.
New Orleans.
Yeah, he
Play
grew
where
up-
his dad played.
His grandpa played and play where his grandpa played.
I mean, yeah.
Hell, he could wear 8 like his grandpa did, and his hometown. I don't know. I mean, but that's what I thought. If I'm them, I would probably just push in the chips and play the kid. And
it is interesting to know, which I don't know if, unless anything happens, I don't know if it'll ever get to the point that it becomes public. But it would be interesting to know if Kellen Moore, one of his first calls when he learned this was to us, because that'll tell you a lot of what he thinks of Kenny Pickett.
You and I were talking about that in the break. Like, if that's trying to be salvaged, he would know Kenny as well as anybody.
Yeah.
And if they're trying to like make a run at it, would they call here and say, "Hey, where you at with that?" Yeah, I don't know. She's the same age as Shuck.
Yeah,
Kenny is.
I know.
They're both 26.
I know.
Yeah. So there's that part of it.
He's been in the league, started 25 games in the league.
Yeah. Just getting there. It's crazy. Abdul Carter's going to wear number 51 after being denied LT's 56 and Phil Simms' number 11 with the G-Men. 51's a good rush number. I like it. Dick Butkus. Good linebacker number. I have a problem with 51. Good look. Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson has not heard. I saw this on his Twitter.
Would you like me to read this?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, give it.
From Adam Schefter's Twitter handle, Trey Hendrickson's statement today to ESPN. No communication has taken place between my camp and the organization post-draft. The offers prior to the draft did not reflect the vision we shared and were promised last off-season if I continued to play at a high level. Coaches are aware of these past conversations. Rather than using collaboration to get us to a point to bring me home to the team, they are no longer communicating. I have been eagerly awaiting a resolution of this situation, but that's hard to do when there's no discussion and an evident lack of interest in reaching mutual goals. Isn't their top pick sitting out too?
Knowing them,
I think so.
He's refusing to do any deals or anything on field until he signs his deal.
Until he signs his deal.
Covered. It's
so silly. Thing or not a thing? Not a thing until August. Let's see what happens in August and September with Hendrickson and the Bengals. That I think is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. Is at that point with him, but at this point we're still such a long ways away from it. Did you see? There was I saw Barstool with this. There was a Pittsburgh area golf course that Rodgers allegedly became a member of, and they had to scrub him from their member list. So,
what course?
It was not Oakmont.
That should be the one. Interesting.
Yeah. There's probably golf courses over there that we don't know about that are like old money golf courses that nobody ever sees the light of day.
Yeah.
I'm
sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
There's probably some over there that you've never heard of and have no point of reference on. But yeah, I'm guessing if he wants to play Oakmont, he can play it whenever he wants. If you're the Steelers quarterback,
I just don't understand, why doesn't he just do it already? Why isn't he
just
signed?
Maybe he doesn't want to go to any of this. He's just a weirdo. He doesn't want to go to any of it.
Yeah, but then how can you ask him to steward your offense because you're not running his offense? Arthur Smith's not running his offense.
Oh, maybe he is. Maybe he's going to run some version of it.
I mean, that's the big knock on everybody we talked to from the Jets was that they're forcing him to run that offense, which didn't really work in
that he was forcing the Jets to run that offense. Yeah.
Yes.
And it wasn't working. Yeah. So I don't think the Saints thing's it. You've thought that there was, is he waiting on an injury? Is there something out there?
Yep.
To me, the Saints wouldn't be it. I think it's an easier division and it's a decent roster. But from a health standpoint, the division's more winnable. But I just feels like New Orleans is nowhere. If it was Minnesota, fine. Then it feels like all that's missing is a quarterback. But it doesn't feel like it's New Orleans. All right, there you go. That is Around the League, presented by Leaf Filter, official gutter guard of your Cleveland Browns. We'll continue our tour around the AFC North. Luke Jones on the Ravens beat, what they did in the draft, what their offseason plans are looking like. That is coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. It's presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. All right, we continue our tour around the AFC North. And we are in Baltimore now on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. He is Luke Jones, Ravens beat reporter at WNST in Baltimore. Luke, thank you so much for taking the time. I guess let's just start here. From an offseason checklist standpoint, how many boxes did the Ravens check?
I think they've checked most of them, mainly because this isn't a team that on paper needs a whole lot. I mean, they've been as successful as you can be in the regular season, assuming Lamar Jackson's healthy and upright, which, of course, a couple years ago they had some issues with that. But when he's been healthy, they've been amongst the very best teams in football over the last, 5-6 years. So, I mean, sure, are there positions like edge rusher? Did they need to add another safety? Well, they drafted Malachi Starks in the first round, but in many people's minds, the best safety in the draft. But they had some offensive line questions. But who doesn't have offensive line questions in 2025 in the National Football League? There just aren't that many major pressing questions with this roster. But that's also where the problem lies, in the sense of, when is this team going to get over the hump? And I think that's where there's certainly fan frustration. And look, I know I have to read the room. I'm talking about Cleveland and everything that's gone on with Deshaun Watson the last few years and all of that. But this is a Ravens team that you can't ask them to do any more than they've done in the regular season at this point. It's time to break through. So that's both a blessing, but it's also a curse, because, as you guys know, watching this league, it's really difficult to do. I think the Kansas City Chiefs have really skewed just how difficult it really is, because they've made it look so easy, but we all know with the history of this league that it's not. So, I mean, that's really where it is with the Ravens. Their most pressing question is, can they finally get over the hump in 2025, and more specifically, January of 2026?
Yeah.
One thing that they will do that will be very different than it has been for many, many, many years is that they will have a new kicker. It will not be Justin Tucker, obviously let go for reported football reasons, but in the midst of kind of a little bit of an off-field scandal or rumored scandal, or I guess accused scandal. What did you make of that situation and how it has all played out, and that Justin Tucker's time with the Baltimore Ravens, arguably the greatest kicker of all time, is over?
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing on so many levels, and I don't say that expressing empathy for Justin Tucker, based on very serious allegations that certainly came as a surprise to a lot of people. But also, if you talk to other people in the Baltimore area, there maybe had been some speculation about some of this stuff. But to not get into that too much and to keep the focus on the field, you just said it. I mean, you're talking about someone who is the most accurate kicker in NFL history. Someone that was very much on a path for the Hall of Fame, which that's a very short list when you're talking about kickers in the history of this league. So you do have to replace him. I will note, even though I hear your point loud and clear about the, quote, football decision, and we've been talking about that plenty in Baltimore, but he is also coming off the worst season of his career, and I would not have been shocked, even before the reports came out, that the Ravens wouldn't have at the very least brought in some competition to kind of just push him a little bit, if nothing else. But all that being said, and as much as the Ravens did their homework on their 6th-round pick, Tyler Loop from Arizona, had a really solid 4-year college career, made a 62-yarder last year, has, I guess quarterbacks, we call it arm talent. Let's call it leg talent for a kicker. I think he has all of that and checks all those boxes, but is he going to make kicks in the AFC North when the weather turns south in November and December and January? Is he going to make big kicks in January? I mean, Justin Tucker was the last guy left from their last Super Bowl team when he made that game-winning kick in Denver, the Mile High Miracle game. He made a kick in double overtime to send the Ravens to the AFC title game. That's not easily replaced. And certainly when you're talking about a rookie trying to do that, I would even say, look, the Ravens want Tyler Loop to be the guy, but I also fully expect them to bring in at least another kicker at some point this spring and summer, just to make sure he's on the right track to take it over for this job, because those are certainly giant shoes to fill when you're talking about one of the great kickers of all time.
Talking to Luke Jones, Ravens beat reporter at WNST in Baltimore. He's on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Luke, we look at this from our perspective, and of course you think about the AFC, and I think of Baltimore and I think of Buffalo. And I look at both of them and I go, if not now, when? And it does feel that way. Is there that sense of urgency in the city, in the organization, with this run? They kind of been blessed. I mean, you got a lot of familiar faces returning. You have some departures, but everybody does. But, Lamar's back, Derek's back, Zay, all of that stuff. They've added stuff in the draft.
Likely.
Like, it's so many talented guys who are there. It does feel like now better damn well be the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent. I mean, from the standpoint of, and Josh Allen, it'd be the same thing in Buffalo. And keep in mind, the Bills just underwent quite a bit of roster turnover, and look at the season they ended up having. So when you have one of those made elite of the elite quarterbacks, they're still in their late 20s. I mean, Lamar Jackson's not 34 years old. But I hear the point you're making, especially when you look at the rest of the roster, when you look at some other young elite talent they have, like a Kyle Hamilton at safety, who at some point here in the next 18 months, I fully expect is going to become the highest paid safety in NFL history. When you have guys like that on your roster, it's a blessing because you love having those players, but you have to pay them. And it does become more challenging then, and it becomes so much more important that you hit on your draft picks, all those different things. So, the Ravens are a very well-run organization when it comes to all of those elements, beginning with the draft, which has been their lifeblood from, the very beginning. But at the same time, there very much is a sense of if not now, when, because we also understand that everyone thinks their window, even when you have great situations and you say your window is open and it's open for a long time, with very few exceptions, and I guess the New England Patriots of the first 20 years of this century, and now Kansas City, you always think that window is going to be open, and then before you know it, you get a couple inopportune injuries at the wrong spots, you have some off-field things happen, whatever it might be, and then suddenly it's not the same. So I think, I think more so Buffalo, because the Bills, of course, we all think back to the 90s and the Super Bowls and all that. They haven't had a Super Bowl title. The Ravens have won a couple, so they have fans have nothing to be overly spoiled about or anything like that. But, man, when you look at these quarterbacks, I mean, both these guys have been MVP quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson easily could have been a 3-time MVP this past year, with no disrespect to Josh Allen. But you still look at it, and they've come up empty in January. Yeah, you do kind of look at this thing, and you kind of rack your brain saying, what exactly is it going to take to get over the hump? And that's when you just have to kind of remind yourself, hey, there was a point in time where Peyton Manning was viewed as someone who couldn't win a big game or win the big one. Same with John Elway, right? And eventually they break through, whether it's them doing it with carrying their team on their back, or their team kind of carries them, as it was the case with Manning at the very end of his career. So, I think that point's fair. I don't think it's, like they're in a position where it's their, quote, last best chance or anything like that. But, all these guys are getting older, and it's a brutal game. You never know what's going to happen. So you don't want to squander these opportunities when you have a team that looks so formidable on paper.
And it is a formidable team, and you mentioned it earlier. We'll talk about the draft, and at least the first 2 picks. Malachi Starks, many people thought was the best safety, and as soon as undrafted, I'm like, oh, of course, that's such a Ravens pick, and they get him. And then they have tried through the draft to really kind of get this edge rush together, and maybe with some mixed results. Oweh certainly has shown flashes. He was a first-rounder in 21. You had a second-rounder in David Ajabo, who hasn't quite reached it there from 22. He had a third-rounder last year, a fourth-rounder in 23. So a lot. They keep throwing assets at it. Well, now you get Mike Green, who was, the number 10 player on a lot of people's big boards. Obviously, off-the-field issues caused him to fall. What did you make of that pick, and how thrilled are the Ravens to get a player of that talent, knowing that, they also have had a pretty good culture there that maybe can help deal with some of the questions coming in?
Yeah, I mean, in light of all the Justin Tucker stuff, I'm not going to lie, I was surprised that they made that pick, and obviously there's so, in fairness to him, but also out of the severity of when you're talking about sexual assault allegations, we know next to nothing in terms of details. So fully acknowledging that out of respect to the gravity of that, you are talking about someone who on paper, other than Abdul Carter, best edge rusher in this draft, people thought, like you said, could be a top 10, top 15 pick. So it is pretty crazy when you think about the Ravens. And in recent years, go look at their sack totals. They end up making it work. They scheme it up. They sign guys like Kyle Van Noy or Jadeveon Clowney a couple years ago, Justin Houston a few years before that, and they tend to make it work. But when you look at Mike Green on paper, just the football talent, you could make an argument this might be their most intriguing edge rush prospect since they drafted Terrell Suggs 20-some years ago. Now, I'm not saying Mike Green's going to be that kind of player, just talking about what he was perceived to be coming out of college. So I think on that front, it's a really interesting pick because it is something that, as you mentioned, other than Odafe Owe, they haven't necessarily invested a lot of early round capital at the edge rush spot. So, but they're also in an intriguing position this year because Owe's in a contract deal, Kyle Van Noy, or a contract year. Kyle Van Noy's 34 years old and, hey, had a great career high kind of season, but can you expect him to do that again? He's in a contract year. So to me, I look at this as, yeah, maybe the Ravens took a little more risk than people would have expected, or even maybe people wanted them to do, given the off-field issues with Mike Green or off-field questions. But at the same time, maybe they're looking at this was an opportunity for them to take a swing at potentially nailing down a long-term kind of anchor for your edge rush rotation. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because you watch this guy on tape. I mean, he can definitely play. There's no question about that, albeit coming out of a smaller school where he didn't necessarily face elite competition every week.
Were you as surprised as we were, or maybe it was just wishful thinking on our part, that Todd Monken is back and did not get a head coaching job?
You know what? I think I can't say I'm shocked because I think we also know, and obviously there are always exceptions. I mean, Pete Carroll's back in the NFL coaching, but we're also talking about someone who's won a Super Bowl, a long storied reputation and career. But we also know that in recent years it's trended a little bit younger. Todd Monken is not 40 years old. He's been around for a long time, even if not in the NFL for necessarily a terribly long time. But in terms of his ability, man, and I know the first thing people say is, well, Lamar Jackson will make a lot of people look smart, and he will because he's an unbelievable future Hall of Fame quarterback. But at the same time, to see what he's done with a Ravens offense that had been very successful but felt like it had kind of hit a ceiling with Greg Roman and just having a little more of a limited passing game. But go look at what the Ravens did in the passing game last year. I mean, it wasn't just about efficiency like it had been at their best in previous years. I mean, by volume. I mean, they had a passing attack that had, I think they were 7th in passing yards per game. I mean, Lamar Jackson led the NFL in yards per pass attempt. I mean, he went over 400 or 4,000 passing yards. He set a career high for touchdown passes. So
it was unreal.
You look at all that.
He was unreal. It was the best season he's ever had. It's one of the best seasons anybody's ever had.
No question.
Yeah,
absolutely. And of course, it's Lamar Jackson. So I think he'd make a lot of coaches look really smart in that spot. But I do think Todd Monken did empower Lamar to do more at the line of scrimmage pre-snap and to look at, have a little bit more of an expansive passing game in terms of what their receivers do route-wise and all of that. So I wasn't shocked just because I think a lot of teams over the years proved that they're not very good at hiring NFL head coaches. And, it seems like the latest trend over the last 5 to 10 years has been younger coaches. So from that standpoint, I wasn't shocked. But again, the body of work over 2 years, I know this much. The Ravens are very happy that Todd Monken is still their offensive coordinator, even if I can't say it. I'm sitting here stunned that he still is.
I'm not happy about it.
Opposite for us.
Yeah,
we had him here.
happy.
We loved him.
Loved him.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Luke, great stuff as always, man. Thanks for your time.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Take care, guys.
All right, there he goes. Luke Jones, Ravens beat reporter at WNST in Baltimore, joining on the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. So much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, NBA draft lottery is tonight. It's exciting because Flag's there. So this is new lottery. This is exciting as it's going to get because you have a kid who was great as advertised in year one at Duke.
Just diagram a damn inbounds pass.
Inbound it or hit a free throw, Coop. Go ahead and hit a free throw.
Not that I'm still not angry.
So this is as good as the old days of Shaquille O'Neal. That's gone. Like ready-made stars. It hasn't been that way for a very long time.
Yep.
So this is about as good as it's going to get. Washington, Charlotte, Utah have the three best odds. My hunch is Washington would be where the NBA would want him to be of those three. Is the biggest feast or famine moment in sports Jerry West as a general manager of the Memphis Grizzlies sitting there as LeBron James and the rights to draft him went to Cleveland. And by missing out, not only did he miss out on LeBron James, he missed out on the number 2 pick in the draft, which went to Detroit. Who ended up taking Milicic, but it was a draft that had Carmelo Wade, and Bosh went right after. You went from, if this thing turns up Grizzlies, we have LeBron James.
Yep.
If it turns up us at number 2, that pick is gone in a loaded draft. That pick is gone to Detroit. It's got to be the biggest what if in sports, the hit of that to the miss of that.
You're right.
I can't think of another one that's even in the vicinity of that.
No, that is a brutal turn of events. It does feel like, when you think of Ewing, you think of LeBron, that maybe there are some times when they're able to interject their opinions into those balls.
Well, the NBA invented the draft lottery
Yeah.
for Ewing. It was 85, and they did it for Ewing because people were tanking for Ewing.
Yep.
And they didn't want to have that, so they created it for him. And then there was all this story about a frozen envelope and all of this stuff, and so you knew which one to grab, and that allowed for it to be New York because they wanted him in New York. I wonder who picked second in 85.
Stand by.
That would. What was the second choice?
Sam Bowie. No, I'm kidding. I know that's Jordan's draft.
Yeah.
1980.
Nobody ever says anything about
1985 NBA draft.
Here we go. First pick, Patrick Ewing. Second pick, Wayman Tisdale.
There you go.
Solid player. Third
Oklahoma, I believe.
Third pick, Benoit Benjamin. Fourth was Xavier McDaniel.
Solid.
This was
Wichita State, I think.
This was a good draft. This is back when teams just picked dudes that were big because everybody wanted a center. So then John Koncak, who had a nice pro career but was never dominant, and Joe Klein go 5-6. Chris Mullen goes 7 to the Warriors.
Yeesh.
Detlef Schrempf goes 8 to the Mavericks.
Love Detlef.
He's a great player. Mullen was a
The Cavs
stud.
take the oak tree, Charles Oakley. A guy by the name of Karl Malone went 13th in this draft to the Utah Jazz.
Louisiana
10th was
Tech.
Ed Pinckney from Villanova.
Yeah.
11, Keith Lee, a center from Memphis State. 12, Kenny Green from Wake Forest. Then Karl Malone. Alfrederick Hughes went to the Spurs. And then again, these big centers, Blair Rasmussen from Oregon and Bill Weddington, who was on the St. John's team with Mullen, goes 16. Uwe Blob. Oh,
Uwe
my God.
Blob,
Loved it,
that's great.
Uwe Blob.
Uwe Blob.
But
I had
think,
about
so that's
500 of those basketball cards.
Think about
You
this,
got one in
though.
like every pack.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the first 17 picks in that draft were centers.
Yeah.
Then you got a guy by the name of Joe Dumars goes 18.
McNeese, I believe.
I'll get to some other ones. McNeese State. 23, A.C. Green from Oregon State. 24 was Terry Porter.
Yep.
From Wisconsin Stevens Point. Wow. And that was pretty much
The crazy thing is there's 7 rounds in that draft.
7 rounds.
There's 162 picks.
Michael Adams goes pick 66 from Boston
Boy, he
College.
could
Who had a
shoot
very
it.
nice.
He
He
could
could
really
score
shoot it.
basketball.
The third to last pick. And I mean, there are a bunch of
In
no
7
names
rounds.
at the bottom.
77, pick 77 in this draft in the 4th round. He's not my Vetus.
Oh,
He's not
really?
your Vetus. He's our Vetus.
They took the Soviet.
77, the
Now,
Atlanta
he didn't
Hawks.
come to the league until the 90s.
Pick voided because Sabonis was not 21 at the time of the draft. So and I don't even know what that means.
How would they prove that?
Spud Webb went in this draft. He was pick 87. I'm looking for anybody
The
else.
third to last pick was Mario Ellie.
Mario Ellie.
Mario Ellie.
Like
Very
100
good player.
pick 160 in the 7th round.
Jeez.
Mario Ellie played in some big games.
Yes,
for the
he did. Hit
Rockets,
some big shots for the
Warriors.
Rockets. Absolutely.
Yep.
That'll be fun tonight to see how that shakes out and see where Flag goes.
By the way, you could have picked Chris Mullen, Karl Malone,
1 minute.
Joe Dumars. Those are all Hall of Famers. There were 4 Hall of Famers in this draft.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you didn't get Ewing, not bad.
Instead, you got Huey Blob.
Wayman Tisdale, never an All-Star.
Yeah, that checks out. Always good, though. I mean, he was
good.
always a solid player.
Great college player.
Oh, by
Really
the way,
good player.
pick 31 in this draft. Manute Bol.
How about that?
Manute Bol.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
Hey,
I'll
tomorrow,
be sure,
Good Morning Football
we got?
announcement, international games.
So we'll know when we
Between
play.
8 a.m. and 10 a.m.
When and who?
30.
We'll know when and who.
You'll know everything.
When and who tomorrow on Good Morning Football. So we'll have that to look forward to, which is nice. The next level is next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Bally Bet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns.